Shalom, everyone. The Gemara in Gittin Samech Zayin Amud Bet 67, page 2, is starting a perek called Mishe Achazo Kurdiakos, and the Kurdiakos is a nickname or a name for a husband who is either mentally ill or physically ill, and he cannot write the get. And the whole discussion about the his halachic status. But then the Gemara starts for a few pages to talk to us about health issues and illnesses and what are the right cures to those illnesses. Many advice. Some of them don't try at home. Some of them sounds interesting, and we can even track them all the way till today. But there's one comment on page 70 that I would like to read together and look into it. And it says in page 70 in Gittin Ein, Amar leEliyahu leRabbi Natan, Elijah the prophet is talking to Rabbi Natan. He is a Tana from the 5th generation. He came from Bavel. He was one of those lucky people that Eliyahu got, they met Eliyahu here very often. And Eliyahu is giving Rabbi Natan an advice, probably from up there. It's like a godly advice because it comes from Elijah the prophet. And it tells him, you should echol shlish v'shteh shlish v'anach shlish. Okay, eat a third and drink a third and live a third of your fill, so that when you become angry, you will become full. In other words, if you do this, there will be room as it were for the anger. And if you become angry when your stomach is full of water and food, you will harm yourself. In other words, Eliyahu is giving a medical advice, and he's saying, of course, people are going to get angry. People become angry. Anger is part of what people, how people behave. But you have to take in account when you eat to leave some room in your stomach for the anger. The concept was that the anger is filling us. It's not, we're angry and then it passes on. It stays inside. And then if our stomach is full and then we're angry, there's no room for the anger, and then we'll burst. It will harm us physically. And the relationship between anger and physical harm is, I think, today more than ever, due to scientific research, is proven. Like when people are very angry, it can, affect their heart, their inside organs, and many illnesses can come from that. And the idea that the Gemara adds here is about the anger. And because anger is, as we know, is a midah, is an attribute that we need to keep away from. So I believe that the Gemara is not only talking about physical state, but also about mental state. Because if you're full and you're angry, you can harm yourself not only physically, but there will be something about your behavior and your mental state that can really, really harm you, and definitely harm your relationship with other people. And the pasuk in Ecclesiastic in Kohelet is saying, Al tevahel beruchacha lichos, don't let your spirit quickly vex, for vexation abides in the breasts of fools. Ka'as belongs to the fools, and therefore don't be quick to be angry, because if you do, that means that you're not such a smart person. Because smart people, wise people, try to control their anger because either they know it's not going to help, or as a very popular statement is, when you're angry, you're punishing yourself for the fullness of other people. But more so, and that I see from the Gemara in Psachim, Rish Lakish is telling us that any person who becomes angry, if he is a Torah scholar, but the word in the text is chacham. In other words, if he's a wise person, not only a Torah scholar, but a wise person, his wisdom departs from him. And if he's a prophet, his prophecy departs from him. In other words, even if you are, on a high human standard, you're wise, you're a Torah scholar, you're even a prophet, when you give in to anger, then that quality that you have is no longer there. In other words, we become different people when we're angry. And I'm not talking about, and I don't think it's about anger, which is a just anger, which is controlled anger, which is has a purpose, to fix something. But it's an anger that is out of control, that is taking over us, and we are, everywhere we go with our anger, and our life is just not a life when we give into such anger. And the Gemara in Nedarim is actually saying, רבי שמואל בר נחמני אמר רבי יונתן, כל הכועס כל מיני גהנם שולטים בו. רבי שמואל, in the name of Rabbi Yonatan, is saying, anyone who gets angry, all kinds of gehenam rules over him. In other words, you cannot control yourself and your being, and then other forces are going to control you and cause you to do things that you will regret. And because anger causes him to transgress all kinds of severe sins. And then the Gemara quotes a pasuk, as it is stated, therefore remove vexation from your heart and put away evil from your flesh. And the evil mentioned is nothing other than Gehenna. In other words, what's the evil that you need to remove, from your flesh? It's Gehenna. But I want to look at the pasuk in Pshat and to see that haser kas milibecha ve'aver ha'ami besarecha, the ra'a here, okay, the evil here is parallel to the kaas, and the lev here is parallel to the basar. In other words, when we're angry, we're also hurting our flesh. We're also hurting our body. So here is another Gemara telling us that when we're angry, the bad that can happen, that can control us, the gehenom that can control us, can cause both physical and mental illness, and definitely emotional and even spiritual illness. And as for the physical, the Gemara in Nedarim continues to say, and not only that, but also hemorrhoids will control him. In other words, the Gemara here in Nedarim is very clear by saying, when you're angry, then all kind of gehenom controls you, not like bad spirits, and then you can behave and do things that are wrong or that you will regret. But also you'll get physically ill. The hemorrhoids will control you. And I want to end with the words of the Rambam, because the Rambam in Mishneh Torah, and it's a big halachic book, in Hilchot Deot, when he speaks about the different attributes, and sometimes he says we have to find the middle path, but there are few midot, few attributes that the Rambam says, from them we have to go to the other side completely, and anger is one of them. And let's see, anger is also an exceptionally bad quality. It is fitting and proper that one move away from it and adopt the opposite extreme. He should school himself not to become angry, even when it is fitting to be angry. If he should wish to arouse fear in his children or household, okay, in the way of the Rambam is like, but when someone, I need to look fearful, fearless or firm with my children or with my students, or within the community, if he's a community leader and wishes to be angry at them, to motivate them to return to the proper way. I mean, this is the only reason why someone should use anger towards other people, is to motivate them to return to the proper way. He should present an angry front to them to punish them, but he should be inwardly calm. In other words, the Rambam is saying you can act as if you're angry. You shouldn't let this anger control you and inside of you, inwardly. But you can put on an act that you're angry just so that will get the result of motivating them to the proper way, but inside you should be calm. And by the Rambam using the word calm is also telling us that he is thinking about an emotional damage or mental damage that can come to someone who is angry. Even if there is a right reason to be angry, try to, maybe meditate on it, breathe, and put a face, but inside be calm. He should present an angry front to them to punish them, but he should be inwardly calm. He should be like one who acts out the part of an angry man in his wrath, but is not himself angry. And the early sages said anyone who becomes angry is like one who worships idols. Okay, it's a different quote from Chazal that kol mi shekoes כאילו עובד עבודה זרה, like he's worshiping idols, because to be angry is to be far away from God, because God doesn't like angry people. God loves modest people. God loves people that can control their temper because they act like God. So if you are angry, it's as if you're moving away from God, and it's as if you're worshiping idols. And they also said whenever one becomes angry, if he is a wise man, wisdom leaves him, and if he's a prophet, his prophecy leaves him. The life of the irate is not true life. Okay, and that's a very important statement by the Rambam. Okay, the life of the irate is not a true life, because you're overcome by your vexation, irritation, anger, and you can't think about anything else. And it removes you from this world. It's not only harming you physically, but it removes you from this world. Therefore, they have directed, Chazal were directed, that one distance himself from anger and accustom himself not to feel any reaction, even to things which provoke anger. This is the good path. And the Rambam being the Rambam, the good path is not only the path that will lead you to be wise and to be calm and to have a good midot, but it's also physically. Because if you harm yourself physically, then you cannot worship God rightly, and correctly, because you'll be busy with your pains. And anger, says the Rambam, is the one thing that is distracting us from God and causing us a lot of pain. And I want to end with a source in Hebrew, and I'll translate it from the Mei Shiloh, from the Ishbitzer. And he's quoting a Gemara in Pesachim saying, three God loves. God loves one who is not angry, and he's not drunk, and the one who is ma'avir al midovtav, he lets go. He doesn't stand on his wishes and wills, and he's not. It doesn't provoke other people to do exactly what they want to do, and let go. And like, things are passing me. I'm not, I'm not so strict about having things my way all the time. And says the Mea Shiloach, Mi she'eino ko'es, it's the one who doesn't show anger outside, in action. And ve'eino mishtaker, the one who is not drunk, is the one that had peace of mind. And when we have a peace of mind and calmness that is not interfere with drinking, then we can realize God, we can view God, we can believe in God. And the one ma'avir al midotav is the one that removes the anger also from his heart. And that's how he's not upset with his friend. When I said something and I think I'm right, and my friend is saying the opposite, or is disagreeing with me, and I'm getting angry because I definitely am the one who's right, then God doesn't like that. God loves the people who are modest, who are anavim, and the people who says, you know what, I think I'm not that important that my view is, the only view possible. And God loves that. And God doesn't, and that also has to do with ka'as. Because when we're not like that, then we get angry with people who thinks differently than us. who acts differently than us, and then we have a grouch in our heart for them. And these three things God doesn't love. And we'll end with reminding ourselves with what Eliyahu was saying. And Eliyahu is saying, okay, so, have a third empty stomach, or maybe, maybe lichshetichos can become not, surely you will be angry, but maybe if you have a third of an empty room inside of you, you understand, the physical, the limitation of our existence. And then maybe that will cause you not to get angry so fast.